You know what time it is.
Time to stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The masses' ignorance.
Fuck it, let's roll. What's going on, everybody? I got the fucking king's chair over here, not the podcast chair, so I'll be right back. One might not know how much prep goes into podcasting. But you got to be comfy. You got to be in the right spot. Got to get lighting correct, background. I don't want you to see my dirty chonies hanging off of the fucking... Got to get my mud because it's early morning, Friday morning. Just finished my gratitude list for this morning. I think we talked about that. Did we talk about that a little bit? I think I brought that up before. I was working on a format for a journal, and I've been following this format just kind of to give myself a little structure, something to kind of see if it works, because I was going to actually present it to you guys, those of you who might struggle with how to do a journal or not sure of what to do. And I was just sort of practicing this format myself to see if it was something that I thought was, worthy of sharing with you guys. And so far, it's been pretty good. So far, I've been following it, and it's been pretty good. So I today on Friday Friday is gratitude. I write down the things I'm grateful for, and as I was writing this morning, I was realizing that I'm grateful to live in this great nation, the United States of America. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to go into it in a little bit more depth. I'm grateful to live here in the United States of America. I have a wonderful privilege. I've had the wonderful privilege of being born here in this wonderful, great and wonderful nation. And I think that a lot of people take this nation for granted. They don't have gratitude for this nation. And I think that's really ashamed. I think that we are really lucky to live in this place. Really lucky. There are other places around the world. I've been to some of those places. They aren't like this. Is America flawed? Absolutely. Does America need work? Absolutely. For the most part, you can wake up in the morning and you can go outside of your home in peace. And there's prosperity here. There's opportunity here. There's peace here. There are a lot of places around the world where there isn't peace and harmony. As we can see recently with the situation in Iran, which is getting coverage. I recently listened to a podcast, The Bridge, with Travis Haley. And he spoke to one of the soldiers who was in Kabul during the withdrawal in Afghanistan. And he talked about the tens of thousands of human beings that were attempting to cross a line because they knew that when the Americans left, the Taliban would take over, and they were afraid for their lives. So afraid for their lives that they were trampling each other. Madness. That's how afraid. We don't live in this country, in the United States of America. We don't live with the threat that would cause us to act that way, to trample one another because of fear of the fucking Taliban. It's not funny. I laugh at my verbiage. It's really not funny. And yet, there are people in this country that for lack of a better term, bitch and whine and complain about how awful it is here. And yet, if you were in one of those other countries with the Taliban rule, you wouldn't have anything to bitch and whine and complain about. And again, I served in the United States Navy, and that provided me with great opportunity to visit and see some other countries around the world and to see how they live. And I visited some places that were, I visited some cities that were, those were the main cities, the main places where people lived, and they were not, for lack of a better term, they were not as nice as they were here, and it was their main place. From what I hear about Los Angeles, that Los Angeles is getting pretty bad right now at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong. There are places here in the United States that are really bad. Detroit's really bad, from what I understand. I have not been there. Chicago can be a very dangerous place, from what I understand. But I think that some of those places are still pretty quiet compared to places like Afghanistan. Or I should say Afghanistan after we left. I've known some people who lived over there, who lived in Afghanistan. I know a woman who spent several years living in Afghanistan post 9/11. So we had a presence there. The U.S. was there. But that doesn't make it any. It's still dangerous for a white American woman to live in a place like Afghanistan. But I think that provided some perspective for her, help her find some gratitude, perhaps. I certainly am not above having taken this place for granted, and I can still take this place for granted. I am thankful that in recent years I have begun to open my eyes. I have begun to become aware. I have begun to see some more truth in myself and find gratitude and find fucking gratitude, man. Find some gratitude. And even more recently, having a daughter has really opened my eyes. Really opened my eyes. And to think that I I get to raise her here in the United States of America. I get to do that. I get to raise her here in the free state of Arizona, where we have some rights. You know, we have some freedom left here in Arizona. And don't get me wrong, there's freedom in the rest of the country, way more than other parts of the world. I mean, you've heard people say it, but people around the world fight to get here. And it breaks my heart to see and to hear about the many people who despise this country that were born and raised here. I hate to say that perhaps their parents played a role in that. Fatherless families perhaps play a role in some of that. A lot of these political parties play a role in that. The news media plays a huge role in that. And again, I'm thankful for being raised in a family who instilled it in me to be grateful for this nation, to love this nation. Again, I served this nation, and my perspective changed when I raised my hand and took the oath. I had many reasons for joining the service, many reasons other than the oath. But when I stood there, there was a major in the Marine Corps who swore us in that day. And he said, listen, there are a lot of reasons you all might have gotten here. Many, many, many different reasons. Some of you are coming so that you can get money for college. Some of you are running away from your lives. Some of you were come from families of service. Some of you don't know what you want to do. And some of you may have just ended up here. He goes, but think on this. Today you're going to take an oath to serve something that's greater than yourself, something that gives you purpose and meaning. The Constitution of the United States of America, the United States of America. And I urge you as you before you take this oath, and as you take this oath, and after you take this oath, to listen to the words and to think about that. What an opportunity it is to serve this great nation. And in that moment, my perspective changed. I was running for sure. I was running. I was running away from things that I that were hard for me to handle at home, and also I had something I needed to prove to the world, that I could be a man, that I could be strong, that I could do this. I was running and I had something to prove. But that moment, before I raised my right hand and took that oath, and he said those words to me, and it changed. It changed for me, and I became a different man in that moment. I found a newfound love and appreciation for this great country. And I took that oath and served my country. And I take that oath with me, and I take that oath very seriously. I know a lot of men and women who've taken that oath still carry it with them as well. mean, we talk about the tragedies of this nation, slavery. What a horrific thing. And you hear people talk about it today as if there isn't slavery happening today. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but there's fucking slavery happening right now, today. Right now, today, there is slavery happening. There are women, young women, being abducted and forced into a life of slavery. Sex trafficking is a real fucking thing. That's slavery. And yet people want to... see, I'm going to get worked up. Because this shit bothers me. People want to complain and bitch and whine about the past. And instead of worrying about what's happening right fucking now and doing something about that, go out. Instead of bitching and whining about the slavery that happened, that we abolished, by the way, we got rid of it. Horrific. It's a fucking horrific thing. Horrific. No fucking doubt. But there's slavery happening today. No fucking doubt. Go do something about that fucking slavery instead of bitching about what happened hundreds of years ago. Go do something today to make a difference. Go do something today. You know, people are afraid to speak up, speak their minds because somebody might get offended. This is a problem. I'm going through it right now. I have words that I want to spit out of my mouth and things that I want to say, and yet I'm hesitant because I don't want to upset somebody. You know, many different peoples of many different colors and many different nationalities and many different places around the world have all been slaves at one point in time. It seems to me that the white man, the white man, American man, seems to be the culprit of all of the evils in the world. Lest we forget that Genghis fucking Khan was not a white man. Was he? And Genghis Khan was probably one of the most brutal fucking... Not a white man. Not a European. Brutal. There's something like 1/3 of the fucking DNA on the planet comes from Genghis Khan. Some crazy number. Think about it. Not white. Egypt was another empire. Sure, they had slaves. The Jews were slaves to the Egyptians. The Egyptians were not white. Furthermore, Rome had slaves, and those slaves were from all over the world, including white people. Other Europeans were slaves to the Romans. So the white man can't be the devil. The devil is the devil. He's a shapeshifter. And yet here we are in this country. There are people in this country who want to demonize white men. Huh. As if we are the only fucking evil men on the planet Earth. We are not. I'll stand up right here and say, I am not. Furthermore, when we talk about flaws, all right, let's talk about the flaws of the nation. And I've talked about this before, cleaning your own house. Let's think about you. You. Are you flawless? Are you mistakeless? Are you innocent? No, you are not. Promise you that. And if you are sitting here right now going, oh yeah, I'm fucking innocent, you're lying to yourself. That's a lie. You've made mistakes. You've made terrible and grave mistakes. You've hurt people. You've hurt yourself. You've said horrible things. You've done horrible things. And you will continue to do terrible and horrible things. It's a part of human life. It's a part of the human existence, the human experience. It's a part of life. We make mistakes. The best we can do is hopefully learn from those mistakes, grow, and move forward. And yet it seems that nowadays you can't get out of your past. Something that you've done a decade ago come back to haunt you as if you haven't grown, as if perhaps I haven't grown. I'm sure there's something in my past. I have something in my past that I wonder, it could come up and it could come back to haunt me. I'm prepared, though, because I've learned from that mistake, and I will admit that mistake. I mean, there are fucking many mistakes that I've made. You know? Many mistakes. But I've grown. I am not the same man today that I was back then. Number one, I don't fucking drink alcohol anymore. And that's no excuse, but it is an explanation. And I'm not advocating for prohibition. I mean, again, this is a free country, but alcohol is a hell of a drug. There weren't any other substances in my life that led me to do the things that alcohol led me to do. I'll just say that. Alcohol is a hell of a drug. Nicotine is a hell of a drug. Jeez. Some of the things I've done for a fucking cigarette butt after drinking a fuck ton of alcohol. I struggle in this moment to remember or recall if I had done some of those things for some of those butts without alcohol. I wonder. I'm sure I have. Yeah. Picked up some pretty disgusting cigarette butts and puffed on those things when I was drunk and broke and didn't have a fucking cigarette. Ain't that something? Put alcohol and nicotine together, and that's a combination. Grateful to live in the United States of America. I am grateful for the strong men who built this great nation. I am grateful for the lessons that we have learned in this nation due to the horrible suffering of an entire race of people. Lessons learned. This nation was built on the backs of slaves. Those men and women are strong beyond belief. I am so grateful to you for that sacrifice. You should be proud of yourselves for surviving that tremendous struggle. I feel that strength and that power from blues music, hip hop. God, fucking the soul in that music. The greatest art and beauty comes from the greatest struggles. Without those struggles, we would not be who we are today. Some of the greatest art and beauty have come from the struggles of the world. Rome. Think of the warriors born fighting the Mongols. The great art out of those regions. Egypt. Asia. The Great Wall of China. Huh? The pyramids. The pyramids. The United States of America. Grateful. I am so grateful that I get to raise my daughter. That my daughter can go outside in relative peace and safety. Relative. Are there dangers out there? Poosh. Of course. Fucking A. Many a great danger. Way less than if we were in Afghanistan, that's for damn sure. Way less for her if she was raised in Iran, that's for sure. Or Saudi Arabia, that's for sure. LGBTQI plus community. Take a trip to Saudi Arabia. Take a trip to Iran. Take a trip to Afghanistan. You won't get to be who you are there. You get to be who you are here. I support you. I don't support your tactics. I don't support this canceling of people because they tell jokes or pick on you. Toughen up a little. Thicken your skin a little. Women, same thing. You know, again, I'm coming off of this woman thing. It's just it's frustrating. It's frustrating to know and understand the great privilege that we all have to live in this country, in this nation. And to take it for granted is a shame. Again, I don't like to shame people. Shame is a difficult thing to deal with. I've dealt with it. I am dealing with shame. I deal with shame daily. I learn and I grow and I become stronger. But there's something to be said about shame. And I've said this before. I'll continue to say it because it's what I believe. You know, I'm not ashamed of this country. I'm not ashamed to live in this nation. I am not ashamed of that. I am proud. I am a proud American. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fucking believe it, man. A shining light on the world. And then there are others at the top taking full advantage while you're down here squabbling for the scraps from Longshank's table. The motherfuckers at the top almost have us fucking brink of nuclear war. The brink, man. The fucking brink. You think that shit can't happen here? And they're the ones setting the example. Like, we didn't even think about that, right? The struggle. This is what Nietzsche talked about. The will to power. The will to power. LGBTQ, all they want is power. It's the will to power. Women wanting to take down men. It's the will to power. The people at the top have us at the brink of nuclear war. Will to power. I'm not above that either. Ego, will to power. I've done that. I just spoke about mistreating people in my past. That's the will to power. There's an instinct in us for power to survive. It's a survival instinct. The will to power. Read Nietzsche. Read some Nietzsche. Or listen. I do the audiobooks, man. They're fantastic. Do some audiobooks, man. They are great. Great. Been listening to some new stuff lately about consciousness and free will. Some mind-blowing shit, man. Really ties the fucking world together. Crazy. It's crazy shit, really. Might be learning some new things here in the next few years about our existence. Cool stuff, man. Cool stuff. Find some gratitude today. Take a moment and find some gratitude today for your situation. Take some responsibility today. Clean your own house. Take a look at yourself in the mirror and clean your house before you go clean up somebody else's house. Before you go trying to clean up the world the way you want. If you want to clean up the world, clean your house first and behave as such, and it'll happen. Each of us have a responsibility to maintain our own house, not your neighbor's house. It's not your responsibility to clean up your neighbor's house and clean up your neighbor's mess. That's their responsibility. You worry about your mess. Gratitude, grateful for this great nation. Peace. I'm out.
You know what time it is. Time to stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon, where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed. Open your mind and read some chapters.